Three. Hello, folks. I am here with, the name is Shingima Vima. I am the director, founder of Clubhouse International, and I'm here with one of my board members in the USA. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I'm a board member here in the US, and I help fundraise and set up events and stuff over here.
All right. Thank you for joining us this evening, Colleen. So a large part of why we have Colleen today is, as it goes without saying, that we are currently, the world at large is currently going through this COVID-19 pandemic. And again, every place in the world has reacted to it in many ways, in some similar fashions, but also in very different fashions. But the thing is, Colleen is actually one of the people who's been on the front lines in this moment, right? Being that she is well, I'll let you tell us a little bit about what your job is and how that situates you within this conversation.
So I'm a nurse technician, and I work in conjunction with doctors and registered nurses to help care for patients in a hospital setting. So I work with people who have come in for maybe other issues, or they may be well enough to be at home but have to come in for just a day or so for procedures and stuff. So I work in conjunction with them to help care for the patients.
Okay. So I guess we'll get right into it, right? And ask, how has it been? I don't think, and you can tell me otherwise, but in your relatively short professional career, I don't think there has been anything else quite like this, right?
No, absolutely not. Even with some of the more like the older nurses and stuff, they've never like experienced anything close to this. So it's definitely like shaken things up. It's made work life a lot different. It's had its challenges, but I mean, we're all getting through it. So.
So when you say it's definitely made work life different, what are some of the things that immediately come to your mind where you feel that this is not as it usually is?
So just at our hospital, as well as I think probably every hospital, nobody's allowed in unless they're a patient. So it's made like the halls and just the atmosphere in general, like just kind of eerie and more lonesome. I feel bad for the patients who have to be there because they can't have any visitors. And I mean, that's really hard when you're sick in the hospital and you want someone there with you and you can't have anyone. And just like the precautions that we have to take as employees, we don't want to risk any unnecessary exposure to the patients or to ourselves. And it's hard. I think we haven't prepared as well as a country. So with equipment and like protection and stuff for us and patients, we just don't really have it. So we kind of have to make do with what we do have, and it makes things not as desirable, I guess, as they could be, but we're working on it.
Indeed. So what about speaking on a very personal level, what sort of emotions does this bring out of you? Are you feeling uh, sad, afraid? How different are the emotions surrounding your experiences these days? If you can just go into that a little bit.
Um, yeah, I guess I just feel kind of uncertain because we don't know as employees or really just as people in general where it's going to go or um, like on the east side of Michigan, they've had like a severe outbreak. So their healthcare is overwhelmed.
Mm,
Um, and over here, we've tried to slow the progression of essentially make or not have what happened over in Detroit happen here.
mm,
So we've taken precautions and stuff, and that makes me hopeful, I guess, that I mean, we're being cautious to
mm,
prepare. Like we're preparing for the worst, but we're hopeful that like the precautions that we've taken, like as a state, like staying at home,
mm,
social distancing,
mm,
all those things will help kind of flatten the curve, or so
mm.
they say, um, and just making the outbreak, I guess, less stressful on the healthcare system.
Right.
Um, I guess I feel nervous, anxious. I just kind of want it to be over.
Right. And I think that's a pretty you know transcendent sentiment really across the board. Um, so clearly, both in your line of work, as well as being a board member for Clubhouse International, and also just knowing you personally as one of my very dear friends. I know you have a huge heart for people. So um, tell me how you've been processing, for example, as you see a a a nation as big, established, and with resources like the U.S. Then thinking about what some of these things may look like in different spaces, right? Like for example, let's talk about Zimbabwe, since that's one place we actually are working with Clubhouse International. What sort of things are you thinking about, or are you wondering about, or how does that hit you, for example, when you think about these things?
Um, I don't really understand the question.
No. So I guess what I'm asking is, and and this is not to assume that that's something that you think about at all. So if that's not the case, then that's totally understandable, because we are dealing with a lot even within our very specific spaces, right? But I was just asking if maybe every now and then you think about how are other places dealing with this. So if that concerns you at all, or if that's something that you ever wonder about what that may look like, if that makes any sense.
Um, okay, yeah, I do wonder kind of how Zimbabwe is being affected, just because I guess out of everywhere else in the world, that's the area I'm most like connected with
Mm,
on a personal level. I have, I mean, we've all seen like stuff from Asia over
mm,
in China and South Korea and how that's all panning out and what they did and didn't do.
mm,
Um, so I think we have a lot of information on that area.
mm,
Um, but I do kind of wonder in maybe more impoverished areas
mm,
how they're handling things, and how if we over here who have it very well off are struggling to keep ourselves safe as well as the people we care for,
mm,
um, how are places that are maybe less well off, how they are able to protect themselves and the people that they care for.
Yeah, so absolutely right, and that is something that of course we think about a lot, and different spaces have reacted pretty differently to it. Some of them, I saw a report recently that was applauding South Africa's reaction to the whole thing. In some other places, it's tough, right? Because, and I was just talking with some brothers prior to this, that even economically, right? What does it mean when an economy such as Zimbabwe, so just the typical sort of African economy, or less economically developed economy, is shut down in this way, where people, a lot of them are informally employed, so they make their money by selling things at the market or this sort of things, or even just when you have large populations that are not they don't have simple things like that, can afford to stock up on food, right? They make their money on the go. Even just little amenities like fridges, right, which we take for granted. But if you don't have a fridge, for example, your options as far as like stacking up meat and staying indoors for a while are very different. So these are all things that then we won't even talk about how densely populated certain areas are, right? So if it, that's one of my bigger fears myself, that if something was to, if we get a patient zero in some of these communities where people live, a brother of mine I was talking to was saying, like, in Zimbabwe they've enforced a lockdown, but in some of these areas, based on how people live indoors, they are better off being outside than being being indoors, because they are so confined. So in any case, I don't want to make this about about my thoughts on these things, but I just wanted to sort of chime in with that. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are all like things that I think about, and I just hope that they can stay safe, and that it passes relatively quickly. So at least, I mean, right now we kind of have a new normal, but that things get back to quote unquote normal as soon as they can.
Right. So, and we'll just close out with this. As somebody who is in the thick of things, if you were to give people some maybe a word of encouragement for one, but also some advice on how best, we know the main things have been, stay at home and these things. I think everybody has heard that now. But, based on maybe a little more inside knowledge or having seen some other things, what do you want to leave people with, if you will? What are some thoughts that you have as we conclude?
I guess, like you said, we've all heard the ways to like stay safe. And I think for me, something that I hope other people realize is that it's bigger than just you, and it's bigger than you think that it is. So think of others when you're thinking of yourself, and think of how your actions can affect other people, because you may have it, you may not know it, you may unwillingly or unknowingly spread it to someone who maybe doesn't have the immune system to fight it off, or is going to be very sick as a result of it. So I think that sometimes, especially in times of like panic and the state of the way that things are right now, we tend to kind of think of ourselves before everyone. But I think that it's really important to try and think of everyone as a whole and making sure that we keep everyone safe, not just ourselves.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you very much. And I think this is a good time as any to, in the spirit of thinking about others, as Colleen has dictated. First of all, today, depending on when you're watching this, but on April 18th is Zimbabwe's Independence Day, which is its 40th Independence Day. And being that that's where our work is based right now is Clubhouse International, just want to wish the good people of Zimbabwe a happy Independence Day. And, you know, the old cliche is that life begins at 40. And we hope that that is some that comes to fruition for the nation. That's one. The second thing is next week, Tuesday, is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's Colleen's birthday, and she's becoming a woman of a certain age. I won't put a business out here, so be sure to show her some love in the comments of this video. And if you're friends with her, you know, make sure you show love. And also, in addition to that, on behalf of Clubhouse International, she'll also be doing a Facebook fundraiser. Do you want to just plug that in real quick, and I'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, I just want to make a fundraiser, I guess, for my birthday, in the hopes of, you know, anybody who is able or willing to give right now. I know that there's a lot of other things going on in the world. To me, I do think it's sad the way that we've had to like postpone everything and kind of shut down the nation, the world, temporarily at least. So I know that some fundraisers that we had planned, like annual fundraisers for Clubhouse, may not happen right away. And I do want to make sure that we can still support the kids and help them pay for school. So I'm just going to set that up in the next few days. And if anyone feels so inclined, they're welcome to give.
Indeed, indeed. And thank you so much for that, Colleen. And I think you said it perfectly, right? That there are so many causes to give to. There's always countless causes to give to, but more so now more than ever. But again, should you find it in your hearts and in your means, which we also realize that a lot of folks have diminished capacity to give, at least financially, given the circumstances. But if it's something else that that you can find a little bit of means and are willing to, give a few dollars our way, so that we can support even in the aftermath of the main phase of COVID, that other vulnerable communities that we've been working with are not left stranded as a byproduct of this essential shutdown, right? So, well, thank you so much for coming in, Colleen. Really learned a lot from you. Really,
Thanks.
very interesting and very emotive, right? Views that you're able to share with us today. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a good time.
All right, thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Yep, bye.
Bye.